What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle. And really quick housekeeping note, if you're watching us on YouTube or on Rumble, please hit that subscribe button. And if you're listening to us on whichever podcast platform you enjoy us on, please hit that follow and subscribe button so we can continue to bring you these types of interviews and that you enjoyed today. And today I get to talk with the president of the SAVE22 foundation, Albert Woodin.
Yep. How you doing, Bill?
Good. How you doing?
Living the dream, man.
Nice. Yeah, we were just talking a little bit before going on here how we were both hanging out in the same areas at Inkcarceration Festival and just didn't connect. So like we'll have to make sure we do next time. Or I've been wanting to come down to one of your events for sure. I know we got a lot of mutual friends in the music world that support you guys, and that's kind of how we connected,
Right.
talking online and stuff. But before we get into all that, I usually like to go back with my guests. So originally, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Honestly, I knew that. So my story's a little unique. I was military brat. I was born in Naples, Italy. My dad was in the Army, Vietnam era. And just growing up in that environment, I always knew that I wanted to do something to give back to the community, to the country, because I kind of felt that it was an honor to be able to serve a country. Like in Italy, you're required to go into the military. It's a requirement. When you come to America, it's kind of a choice. To sign that line is an honor. It's an obligation. It's something that I hold very dearly. So for me to give back is kind of like something I always wanted to do. I just didn't know what branch, and when I come down to it, I knew it wasn't Army after talking to my dad a few times. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do that. I didn't want to be shoved in a tin can. So I knew Navy was kind of out of it. And I'm sitting there at the recruiters and I'm looking at, okay, I've got Coast Guard, Air Force, and crayon eaters. And I'm like, well, I don't want to be a Marine. I knew that. So I ended up going into the Air Force and then got into the security forces and ended up training with Marines and Army. So that didn't work out either.
Nice. So yeah, like when did you kind of answered this question a little bit already, but you grew up, what was that like? What was your earliest memories, and like how old were you when you were over there in Naples?
So we lived in Naples till I was about 2, and then moved to Stuttgart, Germany, and then ended up coming to Fort Huachuca, and then eventually making our way to Ohio. It just the way it worked out. Earliest memories, of being in the military that I can remember as a kid is just, the camaraderie, the different backgrounds, and nobody cared, nobody judged. It was just, everybody was just there. And, that's kind of what I've talked a minute about the metal scene. Like, that's just how it is with the metal scene too. There's like no judgment, so many backgrounds, so many different people, and everybody's just there living in it,
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, so you knew early on then that you wanted to serve. And then like when was it, like how old were you? Like let's kind of go through, like, so you were like 2 years old in Naples, then you're in Stuttgart for, I would say, what, 2 to 4 years?
Yeah, it was a hot minute. I think we ended up coming to the States when I was just about 5, almost 6. And then, started schooling here, and, just through high school. I wasn't a problem child. I knew that I wasn't going to college. I knew it right away. I did what I had to do to get through, and I actually enlisted in the delayed enlistment program at 16. And I told my mom, well, if you don't sign for me, I'll just wait till I'm 18. I'll just do it anyway. So after some back and forth and, a good tongue lashing, she signed, and I did the delayed enlistment. And from there on, I just knew that I was going to go. I just knew it.
Nice. And then like where were you at during this time frame in high school?
So I grew up in a little town called Magnolia, Ohio. It's about 17 miles south of Canton, Ohio. Grew up out in farm country, just not a whole lot to do, honestly. Like I said, I knew at an early age that I was going.
And was your dad still active around this time in the Army, or was he already out?
No, my dad was already out, and he was working for the Department of Defense in Battle Creek, Michigan. My mom and dad ended up divorcing when I was young, so that happens.
Yeah. And then so that you got that, you grew up, kind of saw what that life was kind of like. You definitely knew you didn't want to do Army. And then you finish high school in Ohio here, and then leave for boot camp or whatever with the Air Force.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I, doing the delayed enlistment for so long, I kind of, you work through drills, you work through things, you work through expectations, which is a really good program, actually. So going in, I had some knowledge. I just wasn't prepared, I guess, for, the military does such a great job of breaking you down and beating you up and then bringing you back the way they want you to be. Whatever branch that is, that's just what they do. And we all make fun of each other. We all give each other good ribbing, but that's what they do. They break you down. They find your weaknesses. They build you back up so you're stronger and ready to go, protect this country. And that was one of the biggest adjustments, is like, I guess, the responsibility of knowing that as your training kept going and got more and more advanced, that like, this is real. Like, you are protecting this country, and I ended up so I went in September of '88, did all my training, ended up getting stationed at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, Arizona. Stayed there my whole enlistment, and got deployed to Desert Storm to King Fahd Air Base is where we ended up going.
Oh, nice. And then, so like during your time in, what were some of the oddest things that you witnessed or experienced while serving?
Well, I don't know if we can talk about the oddest things, but the craziness that just happens, like the dorm parties that happen. I can remember these Coors Light party balls, they, about the size of a basketball, a little bigger.
Oh, and, yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, and we just used to get those, and we'd get together and tie all these rafts together, drive up to Phoenix to the Salt River, and we would just float down the river. Those are some of the best memories that I have, is just, the camaraderie you have, because we work in 4-man teams. And then, of course, you had your flight that you worked with, just those 12 to 18 core group of people that you work with every day. That's some of the best times I remember, honestly, is like, again, there's no judgment. Everybody's just living in the moment, man. And I think we get so caught up in what everybody else is doing and expectations of what should be, that aren't really a need be, like, just live in the moment, enjoy the days for what they are. And I don't know, man, I'm just a big believer in that. Like, just live in the moment.
Yeah, I agree. I remember, you look at a lot of what's going on in our country today, and the, in culture or whatever, and just like, still hard for me to wrap my head around like all this divisiveness, because there was, the only color I knew was the uniform that all of us were wearing, which was the same.
Amen.
And like you said, all that we go through the suck together, that even when the times are the worst, that brings us, that strengthens our relationships, that brings us closer together, kind of pick up some dark humor or whatever, I guess.
Yeah.
In a way. But I liked what you said about just we don't work, where we live in the moment, because what I thought was, what I try to carry with me is to not give myself any downtime. It seems like when we have too much downtime in our own heads, and we're not surrounded by people that are mission oriented and stuff, it's easy to almost get sucked into all the bullshit that's going on in the world.
Yeah,
I liked how our days and our times and everything, when we were deployed, and everything was like, regimented, and I kind of keep a dry erase board next to my calendar, like I had you on today at noon, and everything try and keep everything scheduled, because I know when I'm stuck in my own head, man, that's when I can get pulled into a lot of that stuff. And I think that's what, the people that never experienced what we've experienced don't know any better. And they're just in their own head and on social media, and everybody's a badass on the keyboard and has an opinion and thinks they have
Right.
their doctorate or whatever on, state affairs.
Right. And and that's, and that's where, a nice little segue there you threw me, and that's where SAVE22 came in for me, is coming back from military, being involved in a serious accident, dealing with all that, not knowing if you're ever going to walk again, if what your life's going to be like. Then you find out one of your, buddies out of your team, isn't any longer with us, and what could you have done? What did you miss? What could I, just all that survivor's guilt, the what ifs, it just keeps compounding, and and that's, where SAVE22 came in for me. Right. And again, I don't preach religion on anybody. I know what I believe, and I'll keep that to myself. But if we think that we're just walking through this and people aren't brought into our lives, or things don't happen at a certain time for a certain reason, whatever you want to call that, that happens.
Yeah. Amen, man. Amen. Yeah. Man, there's so much there that, I've on my journey I've experienced as well. But I actually had another segue for you coming up, but so let me finish running through this real quick.
Sure.
Without breaking OPSEC, what was one of the worst places you served at?
King Fahd Air Base.
And where was that located again? Was that Saudi?
It's Dhahran. So it was pretty close to Khobar Towers. It's where the 475th Quartermaster Unit got hit, killed 28 people. I happened to be right there when it happened. I mean, it was just not a good time, man. And at 19, 18,
yeah,
we're still just kids, man. We are. I know that we've been trained. I know that we've been trained to take life, protect life, have that power, 2 pounds of pressure and you can change the world. It's just not a good time, man. And I knew what I was signing up for, and I don't want to sound like I'm crying about it, or, it's just at 18, 19, mentally they do a good job getting you ready to go. But I don't think anybody, no matter what age, I don't think you're ever ready to see things like that.
No, not at all. I agree. I think I was 19 when I witnessed my first death on an aircraft carrier, and that was something that I buried for so long, and I numbed with my alcohol and drug addiction for a number of years.
Yeah.
But
and that's something else we have in common too.
Yeah.
I did the same with pills. I mean, one Percocet wasn't enough, one Oxycontin wasn't enough, and 20 wasn't too many.
Yeah. So it was just like, our, as much as they might get our bodies built up right, it's still like, the brain, no matter how much they tried in boot camp or whatever to build up that mental toughness. And, it's not, I think there's a lot, I guess that word gets thrown around sometimes, and it can almost be like, well, you're not mentally tough enough. But no, I think we are mentally tough enough that we carry, and we're still here, and we're doing what we're trying to do today to spread a message and help others, because we haven't let our demons win yet,
Right.
And
I've learned so much over 10 years of VA therapy, about brain and how it works, and chemically, and all these things you can do to help yourself, and again, it's not that you weren't mentally strong. It's just the way the brain is programmed and the way it works, and it's a fight or flight, and we all bury things and we don't talk about it because, ibuprofen, change your socks and drink some water and let's go. Keep going. Let's move.
Yeah, exactly. Throw a little dirt on it or whatever.
Right.
So, one thing I wanted, and we kind of touched on it a little bit, but what pet peeve do you have with civilians since transitioning out of the military?
I think you nailed it, man. It's the lack of structure, the lack of timing, organization, like, and again, I go back to just caring about somebody, like not even knowing, like I know you, but I don't know you. But if we walked up to each other, I know it'd be a hug. I know it'd be, it would be real. There's no doubt in my mind, and that's how it is with the military community in general. At incarceration, we saw over 225 vets, not to include family, just veterans, 225. And every one of those, you're getting, a fist bump, a handshake, a hug, and it would just be nice if civilians could understand that and take that with them and just carry it forward. Like, hold a damn door for somebody. Say hello. Say good morning. How you doing? You don't know what shit people are carrying around, and a simple hello, who knows what that does, man?
Oh man, I agree, dude. I've man, I don't, I remember when I started my journey of healing after my final deployment and then my retirement from the Navy, I got turned on to some other veteran organizations, and one of them was Higher Ground out in Sun Valley, Idaho.
Okay.
And they do recreational therapy. And, so they basically flew veterans out. We went horseback riding up into the Sawtooth Mountains, and we're fly fishing and camped out together for a week. And it was amazing, man. Drinking water straight from the mountain, spring. And, that was kind of like the beginning of my journey. Well, I connected with another veteran group out there that did hyperbaric chamber treatments. And he said, I can put you up in my loft, and the treatments are free. You just got to provide your own meals and your own transportation to get out here. So I took a family trip with my daughters. We drove cross country out to Idaho. We stayed there almost a month. It was like Bizarro World leaving Cleveland, Ohio.
Right.
You get past Chicago and you're like, wow, this is America. You get the mountains, the nature, the valleys. But what you said that triggered that memory was holding the door for somebody else. Man, there were kids holding the doors open for me, and I was like, what is this? The only graffiti I saw on anything was like some positive art of encouragement or something.
Right.
And it's just, man, if the rest of America could get back to something like that, but it gave me hope that there's so much. I think a lot of these people that are so dead set on, telling everybody else how to live have never been outside of their bubble and don't know what living really is.
Right.
Only stay where they've been programmed to believe.
Yeah.
But sorry, I didn't mean to get off on that tangent. You reminded me with the holding the door thing. And I think you've already kind of answered this, but what is something that you will always carry with you from your time of service?
That's a good question, man. That's a tough one. And again, it's just a big thing for me, is just the way that brotherhood and sisterhood, man. Like, we give each other so much grief about Navy and puddle jumpers and crayon eaters, and Army takes everybody, but at the end of the day, man, and as well as I do through your travels, you just can't explain what that little thing is that's right there that everybody seems to have in the military. And that's what I take with me, I guess, more than anything, is like, I just don't judge. I don't care what color you are. I don't care where you come from. I don't care what religion. I don't. You treat me like I'm treating you, we're golden. And that's one of the biggest takeaways I have, I think, of my time in the military, is just that sense of how to treat one another, how to depend on somebody. And like not expect anything, like no ulterior motive. Like I can be your friend just because I want to be your friend, not because, you know, you're a singer of a rock group or you're a podcaster or you're this or that. I'm not in it for that, man. I'm who I am. I like you. You like me. We can talk. We're good. We're good, you know? And I think that's the biggest thing I've taken away out of it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I agree. I mean, there was a time when, you know, when my addictions got the better of me, and then I was very selfish and self-centered. Um, you know, so there was always some sort of angle I was working, I guess, because, you know, once you know, there was a point where my demons consumed me, you know, like I said, I compartmentalized a lot of that stuff instead of dealing with it, and would numb it with drugs, alcohol, sex,
Yeah.
uh, you know, you name it. And then it's just like for me to have more of that to numb the pain, you know, I had to, you know, work some sort of angle. So you know, there was something I needed to get from you, or I needed to tell you or use you for whatever I could at that point, and which took me so far away from how I was raised and what I was taught in the military. But thankfully now with 13 years sober and working a program, I think I'm back and even try to be better than who I was back then, learning from all that to
Yeah.
just like, you know, like you said, I don't care what band you sing for, who you play for, um, you know, what your status and stuff is, man. I just want to be cool, you know,
Yeah.
and try and treat people how I want to be treated.
Right.
And that's definitely key. And a lot of times through that, those real authentic bonds, we have a lot of more real memories that we get to carry with us. And a lot of them I know definitely in my time in service, especially with the brotherhood I had in one of my units, was you know, just comedic relief. So
Yeah.
what was
Yeah.
one of the funniest stories you feel you can share from your time in the service?
Um, yeah. So this is a good one. So the Davis Monthan is where the graveyard is, where all they take all the planes and they mothball them, and you know it's a huge area. Well, they're sectioned off into certain areas, like area 17, area 21, 28, 36, whatever. So when you get your nightly report to do your fence line checks and things like that, they'll say, hey, you know, don't go to area 17. There's some training going on. And that's the only message you'll get. So when you come up to the area, you just keep going straight. You don't turn on the fence line. You just ride it all the way down to the end of the fence and then hang a right and go around that area. Well, we never got the message that there was some training going on in area 17. And I'm heading down the fence line with my buddy Hags. And next thing you know, we've got guns on us. We're on the ground and we're like, what the hell's going on? Like, who are you people? Like, we had no idea. And here we are out in the middle of the desert, in the middle of absolutely nowhere, and guns drawn, lights on us. Like, and, you know, they were doing some hostage negotiation training with some aircraft. And we happened to be there and we shouldn't have been. So that was a good one. I mean, that's one of the ones that really stick out in my head is, you know,
The importance of communication.
yes, yes, yeah, you know, and then, you know, there's obviously some other just funny stories, but that one is just the moment. I mean, and getting caught up in it, it was something, you know, and you're like, again, communication, you know, how far does it go?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But, you know, and there were some other good times of just, you know, again, you know, the shenanigans you get into with going off base and, you know, at that time, 18, 19, you're still in the party mode and, you know, going to clubs and doing stuff like that. And just, you know, there's so many good times, man. But that story is probably one of my favorite because it just to be in that moment and like not knowing what the hell's going on and you're getting lit up out of nowhere and, you know, the laser pointer and you're like, oh boy, this is bad.
Oh man. And then, you know, when you realize, you know, that it's your own guys and word you know how word travels. So back, I bet ball busting was going on for so
It was
long
immediate.
after.
It was immediate. Yeah. Yeah, it was immediate. So yeah,
Oh
that's one
man,
of the best ones, stateside that, that was a good one.
nice. And then what is one of your greatest hopes for the country you've been willing to give your life for?
Again, man, I'm gonna go back to what I've been saying since the beginning. Just start treating each other as human beings. Like this divisiveness, I don't care, Republican, Democrat, and I don't care. I really don't. Like just treat each other with if we treated each other like we would treat our own kids or our mom or our dad or our grandparents, and talk to each other with that amount of respect or that amount of caring, this country, that's what that would be my biggest hope, man, is just to see people actually genuinely care for one another.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. And then now getting up to what we've been wanting to talk about. What do you feel we can do to break the stigma of mental health and PTSD?
Well, so just last night I talked to a buddy of mine that's a law enforcement officer, and I've known he's had PTSD for quite a while. And military and police officers, in my opinion, they're very similar, um, different but very similar on what they have to deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Um, he saw his partner get shot, and he had turned his head for just a minute, like a second. And when he did that, his partner got shot, and he feels such amount of guilt because he didn't see the guy, And his biggest thing is dealing with that first initial, you have PTSD, hearing it from the doctor for the first time, and the amount he feels weak, ashamed, guilty. He has, as military as well. It's the same but different. I'm just using him because I just talked to him last night. We talked for 2 hours about specifically that, and I kept telling him, one of my biggest things is it's okay not to be okay. It really is. It's okay to have PTSD. It's okay to have a TBI. It's okay to have medical problems. It is. And it's okay to get pissed off about it. It is. Be mad for a day. Be mad for 3 days if you have to. But just don't live there. Don't live in that moment. Like there's so many resources and so many people that are carrying this stuff around, and it's not talked about. And I don't know why, because to me, it takes one of the strongest things you can do and the most courageous things you can do is step up and say, you know what? I got a problem and I need help.
Yeah, I agree. One memory that just triggered for me too is like for the longest time, I let my diagnosis almost define me in like a victim state, like a woe's me, like I'm just, I'm broken and that this is who I am now,
Right.
And it took a lot of, you know, seeking organizations like, a higher ground I mentioned before,
Right.
having organizations like SAVE22, having unfortunately I didn't find a lot of my healing at the VA. I went through therapists there left and right. I hired and fired many, and it just it wasn't until I reached outside to some of these other veteran organizations where my healing journey really began. And I also went into some alternative type places that weren't, veteran founded, but you know, float tanks, uh, hypnotherapy was huge for me because I'd buried the death I witnessed at 19 years old so deep. I thought I was being triggered from my last deployment for some of the deaths I witnessed, and I was just like, then I was beating myself up because I would compare my trauma. We do that trauma comparison. I'm like, well, I didn't have my buddy's brains blown off on me,
Right.
you know? So why am I being such a pussy about, you know, this incident, you know? And then I can't go seek help for this. I just need to suck it up or whatever, because it's nowhere near what this guy experienced, you know? And it's just like, it kept me prisoner for so long till I finally like realized everybody's experience is their experience, you know? And the more
Yeah.
I was able to do, like I said, doing the hypno and getting more to the root causes of where a lot of this stuff started, is when the healing finally started. And I mean, you know, I'm still healing. I'm still in therapy session right now. This is a therapy session for me.
Right.
I started
Right.
doing this podcast as a, you know, because my social anxiety and just not being wanting to be around people, you know, without my crutches of, you know, alcohol, drugs, and the stuff I used to utilize. Um, I had to learn how to, like, you know, be human again, I guess, you know.
Right.
And this is one of those uh ways that I do it, you
Right.
know, because I know there's so many people that are still stuck in that spot. So many of our brothers and sisters that are still stuck in that spot. And I could still get stuck there. You know, it's not like
Right.
I'm suddenly like, you know, it depends where I let my brain take me, but at least I now I have resources and people to call to help me pull my head out of my ass.
Right.
But, you know, that's why I wanted to do this, to for those people to know that they have other options out there.
Right. And that's a huge thing, man, that you hit so many things perfectly said, you know, going to those therapies and sticking with them, you know, because like I had a bad experience with you know with one of my docs, my psych docs, and like you said, I had, you know, I fired him, you know, and then I got a really good one the second time. And when I moved to North Carolina, you know, I hit the jackpot. I really did. She is so good, and her husband's a combat vet, and you know, she just speaks in such a way that
Hmm.
it's what we need. You know, I don't need you to give me the big long words and all these diagnoses and this and that. I need you to help. I need you to help me understand. Break it down like I'm 2 years old and tell me what I need to do so I can do that and we can work through things. And you know, when you have those frank conversations like that, I think things start to change and you start to really understand your therapy and what you're doing. I did the prolonged exposure, which was absolutely brutal. And now I'm doing CPT therapy. So once I get all that done, I'm going to go to the Marcus Institute in Colorado, Denver, Colorado. And I was diagnosed with TBI. So I'm going to go for a 3-week therapy session there and take care of my TBI and learn how to adjust life and deal with things. And, you know, because our brains just don't ever get a chance to shut off. They don't ever,
No.
with TBI, PTSD, anxiety, social disorder, anger management, all that, like all this stuff's firing in your brain. Then you throw in your pain, and then you throw in the addiction. Like it just, your brain, we just don't get a chance to like shut off, like breathe for a second. Like you did the, you know, the hypnotherapy and the floating and the hyperbaric, you know, man. And kudos to you for doing that and sticking with it, because that's all brutal stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, I haven't done the prolonged exposure. I've heard like horror stories, and I'm kind of scared, you know, to give that a shot, you know?
Yeah, and I can tell you from experience, you're talking about your triggers, you're talking about the incidents or incidences, and you talk about them over and over and over and like my hair, like I'm starting to get, you know, I can feel myself, but you know, I know now that after doing it for so long that I'm just telling a story. I'm not in that moment. I'm not there, but my body automatically, like I got hot,
Yeah.
flushed, my hair was standing up. It's just, and that's the chemicals that's you're fighting with all the damn time, you know. But normally, if I would have started that conversation, I'd have probably walked out and said, "Hey, I got to take a break." But now I've learned to, like, you know, I'm rubbing my feet on the floor, I'm grounding, I'm doing things, you know, that we've learned over these 10 years of doing this. And I think that's important to share those things with people. Like, hey, look, this is what to expect. You know, if you want to do it, call me, reach out. My number's out there everywhere, you know. reach out. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about it. What do you need? Let's see what we can do together. And that's what I would just wish more people would do.
Yeah. I mean, like I've mentioned, I'm in, recovery, programs and stuff for my, alcohol and drug addiction. And one thing that they emphasize in the program is helping others, service. The more you help another person struggling with addiction, it takes you out of yourself. And that's the same thing with us veterans. The more we help other veterans, that, it takes us out of our own head, and those triggers, I guess.
Yeah.
And one thing that you said, that remind, with how you start feeling it again, and we do start feeling these things again, because it's like it's almost like there's like this book out there, I guess, called The Body Keeps the Score. Like that experience is still in our like flesh and our DNA. Like some of the injuries, like something will happen and all of a sudden, like, my shoulder wasn't bothering me, but it's bothering me right now because it's reminding me of, something I did that jacked it up,
Right.
some traumatic event or whatever,
Yeah. Getting thrown out of the back of a deuce and a half as it takes off, and you're holding a 50 cal so it doesn't hit the ground. Kind of like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And also just and I need to learn how to explain it better. You explained it so well about, all right, when you're in constant pain, you're already kind of irritable. No one likes to be, I'm not happy and relaxed when I'm in pain, when my muscles are triggered and jacked up. So I'm trying to be cognizant of that when other people, come up to me and start asking me things. But then the other thing you were saying with our brains are in all these different places. And it's like, dude, why can't, simple tasks, some of my friends are like, dude, I don't understand why you can't just, why I get overwhelmed with simple tasks. And it's just like, well, I don't know I need to learn how to explain it better, because sometimes I just shut down and I feel embarrassed or shame.
Right. And that's part of why we shut down, because we don't want to let people see what's perceived to us as a weakness.
Yeah.
I've walked out with a grocery list in my hand to go to the grocery store and literally can't remember where I put the list, and it's in my hand, and that is so frustrating. And you can't, it's hard to explain that to somebody, why you get so mad and why you're so hard on yourself because of that, or you go to the grocery store and you buy something, and then later that day you're out and you go buy it again, and you come home and then you have 2 gallons of milk and you're like, shit.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're like, well, better start drinking some milk.
Yeah, no kidding. Chocolate milk tonight, kids.
Yeah, I've done that too. And it's I don't know. They're just like, I got like really close friend that's, he's been awesome trying to help me with my fitness. He's runs he's my personal trainer and he's my jujitsu coach. And, and he generally, is trying to help me and cares, but he's so like, he's never served. And he's just one of those like mission oriented people that, he gets he takes on so much, and he usually crushes every goal he sets for himself. So it's hard for him sometimes to wrap his mind around the days when I'm just like, dude, I just can't today. I can't be, and sometimes we get into like, a little, back and forth about it. And then I'm like feeling like, God, man, maybe I'm just a pussy, but I need to communicate better with him, or just explain it. Because I know in his heart, he's trying to help me and he really wants to get it. But there's some people that just, they've never experienced it. They don't get it. And they're just able to crush things. And I'm freaking envious of those people,
Right. Yeah.
I'm just trying to get this podcast going and trying to build up followers on social media. And it's like such a pain in the ass. I'm asking my teenage daughters, help me out. How do you build up content?
Right.
Get shit out there, you know?
And I'm just trying to remember not to buy 2 gallons of milk and get through the day. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and then you see other people over there just crushing it and killing it. And you're like, man, I'd love to have just a little bit of that, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think there's hope. I really do, because I've noticed, like, for me, you know, working through my CPT therapy now and having to journal and write it down of, you know, like why I was getting mad, why I was frustrated, and then like actually seeing it and reading it, you know, one of my biggest pet peeves is kitchen counter, for example. You know, I like it clean. I don't like anything on it. It's just me. And, you know, and
Don't come over to my house then.
yeah, well, that's just one of my pet peeves, you know, and then you see it and you're like, man, I got so pissed off, and I'm like yelling at my kids and, you know, my wife, and I'm blaming everybody. And at the end of the day, man, is it really that big of a deal? You know?
Yeah.
And after I started seeing it and writing and you know, and you see like it pops up every few days or every now and you're like, man, I like, really? You know, like it's not that big a deal. It's really not. And I'm learning to, I can't expect people to change their lives to make mine better. I have to own where I'm at, and I have to work on it too.
Yeah, man. And man, I mean, it reminded me of some things that I totally still fail at a lot of times. You know, I got 2 daughters, you know, and, you know, growing up with 2 girls that don't understand the concept of time and being places on time and getting ready on time, I would lose my shit, you know, over
Yeah.
it. And it's just like, dude, I can't run my household like I'm on active duty. Like they
Right.
didn't sign up for this, you
Right.
know? And that's been a big transition, you know. Like last night, me and my youngest daughter, and now they're young women, you know. My youngest is 18. She just graduated
Yes.
high school. And we went to the WWE Monday Night Raw. Was in Cleveland last night.
Yeah.
You know, they provide free tickets for the military vets and everything. And so, you know, we went to that, and we, you know, I'd helped her early in the day, taking her car in to get some work done. And then I said, hey, you want to do this tonight with me? She's like, yeah, it'd be great. We haven't had like a daddy daughter thing in a while. So it was like I was really excited about it.
Yeah.
And I'm out running around helping my buddy that I mentioned earlier with the at the gym. And then you know, I know we got to be down there at a certain time to get our tickets and everything. And my daughter, like, you know, ordered Uber Eats or whatever. And usually, man, when she eats something heavy, she like crashes out, you know. So I come home and she had ordered something and she's crashed out. And I'm like, hey, you got to get up here in a little bit. We got to be down there in like, you know, 40 minutes or whatever. So, cause we still haven't got our tickets, you know, so we can get, you know, hopefully decent seats or whatever. And, you know, I thought she was getting up. I leave. I'm down doing my things, setting some stuff up on the internet or whatever on the website. And then I'm like, man, you know, it's the tickets open at like 5:30. I mean, the show didn't start till 7:30, but
Right.
you know how we get, you know, I got to get there early to make sure we get our tickets or whatever.
Yeah.
And go back up and she's still sleeping. I'm like, dude, you got to get up, you know? And then we're finally like rushing to get down there. And I didn't really start like yelling or losing my shit this time. I'm trying to, because I wanted it to be a fun time with us, but I was just like speeding, get down there. Then we're going to park, and I realized I didn't stop at the ATM. I didn't have cash for the dude, so we had to like leave the parking lot, go find one that took a card,
Right.
you know. And I'm just like, man, if we would have got here earlier, you know, I could have done, you know. And then I
Yep.
was like, all right, shut up, you
Yeah.
know. And so I'm getting all worked up, and it ended up. And then we get there, and the one lady at the ticket thing didn't realize they're supposed to be giving, you know, that's WWE policy. They give free tickets to veterans, you know?
Right.
Oh, I didn't see. And I'm like, yeah, they do it all the time. So she asked her, oh, okay. Oh gosh, we're all out of those. You know, I guess they got all taken or whatever. I'm like, well, you're not supposed to be because they make it happen. You know, I know
Yeah.
it's not sold out. So it ended up working where we ended up getting better seats than we would have normally have gotten, you know, because we were late or
Right.
whatever. And we were still on time, but we were late in my head. And it was just like, dude, you know, I'm glad I've learned the tools to not totally shit on that whole night by running my mouth
Right.
and going off on my daughter. I was still in a heightened sense and trying to whatever, but you know, I wasn't a jackass and didn't ruin it because of some of the tools that I've learned. Wasn't perfect, but you
Right.
know,
Wasn't
thankfully
perfect, but you didn't crash and burn either, you know?
yeah, and we had a great time, and she had a blast, and just talked more about it this morning, and it's just like that. That's the shit I want, man, with my kids. They're
Yeah.
young women now, and I don't know, how much more time I'm gonna have with them. So I don't
Right.
want them to not want to be around me. You know?
Yeah, that 16 to 23 goes pretty damn fast, man.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I mean, we've mentioned a couple times now, but we haven't really got into the meat of Save22 and the history and everything behind it. So you want to share about that?
Sure, absolutely. So we started in 2016, and honestly, it's absolutely insane how it happened. It was just buddy of mine was having a hard time. I was having a hard time. A couple other friends were having a hard time, and it just collectively just kind of came together, you know. And I got a phone call from a buddy. He's like, "Hey, you need to come over to the house." Nah, I'm not coming over. No, you need to come over. So I went over, and it was 5 of us, and we sat there and we just talked and kind of walked around and just had a minute. And we're like, man, that felt pretty damn good. Just talking and chilling out and walking around the yard and just hanging for a minute. What if we did this for like just a few vets, or put together just like a hike? Yeah, we can do that. Well, we end up throwing together this hike in literally 2 months, have 800 people show up, and we're like, holy shit, what did we just do? Like, what happened? Because we weren't expecting that. Honestly, we thought, we hit 100, 200 people. Great day, right? So we are the perfect example of an accidental nonprofit, because we started, it was total accident. It should have never happened. I'm thankful that it did. I love that it did. And over the past 7 years, man, we've just grown, and we keep growing, and we've built these relationships and have these connections all across the country. We work with other organizations very well. We provide, golf, fishing, motorsports, art, music, equestrian, outdoors, pretty much anything that you can think of. We have a connection, or we provide it ourselves. We do mentorship to help people with their VA claims and, navigate through the VA system, because as well as it can be difficult at times if you don't know where to turn. It can be very frustrating. Then it becomes F the VA. Well, no, it's not F the VA. They're doing what they need. They do by what they have. And you are allowed to hire and fire. You are allowed to go to patient advocate. You are allowed to ask for community care if they can't provide it. Like, there's all these things that I never knew either as I started working through this. And as I've learned it, it's our responsibility. It is. It's our responsibility to share that information so other people don't struggle and feel like they can't go to the VA. And there are horror stories about the VA. There are.
Yeah.
But, in general, you control your care at the VA, and there's ways to do that. And we help with that too. But, just like taking somebody fishing. One of my favorite experiences, man, was we took a combat engineer, Marine Corps, Vietnam era, out on a boat fishing. There was 4 guys, 2 Marines, myself, and another Army guy. And they were all Vietnam. And then myself, I'm Desert Storm. And just to watch the transformation of these guys just change, and you see their shoulders let down, you see them smiling, you see them carrying on, you see them start cutting it up with one another, and then they're smiling, and even if it's for only 5 hours or 4 hours, man, just to see them again live in that moment, and not worry about all the other nonsense is life-changing, man. It is something special to watch. It is. And I'm not saying we have the cure all, but like you said, it just seems like if you can get outside of your comfort zone and at least try something, you never know what that's going to, where that's going to lead you or what that's going to do for you.
Yeah, for sure. And it's always, when fighting the battle in our own head, either way, we're going to win. Is it going to be the good us or the negative us, and is it really winning,
Right.
But like we say, kind of in recovery too, it's like you can't lift yourself out of, can't lift the bucket that you're standing in. You need others to come alongside. You can't think yourself out of a thinking problem. You need other people to come alongside. And it's just that, like seeking wise counsel,
Right. Yeah. And again, I'm gonna bring up Inkcarceration because I love metal music. I mean, we have that in common. But being there and setting up the booth, like we were asked to come in, and we were like, we didn't know if we wanted to do it or not. We didn't know what benefit we would have. Sure, we're there spreading the word and selling T-shirts and giving out merch and pamphlets and just spreading the word of what we do, But things that happened there, Bill, that weekend, I mean, you can't put a price on it. You can't explain it. When you have vets that just kept coming back to check in, like, hey, man, I'm back again today. Glad you guys are here again. Or they'd come up with a band that, during breaks, they'd come up into the booth and just hang out and sit down with us and just, it was just a unique experience, man. And then, to have a guy show up and he literally threw his phone down with a picture on it. I'm like, you good, man? He goes, no, I'm not good. He goes, that's my buddy. He just killed himself 3 days ago. He goes, I wasn't going to come here. I was sitting in my car last night across the street. That's where I slept. And he goes, I was going to end it. He goes, but I didn't want to do that to my buddy. So I showed up here. And then I see you guys, and then we talked to him. A few hours later, he comes back. He's smiling. The next day he comes in. He's like, hey, guys, woo, screaming and yelling and carrying on. And just to see that transformation, man. And is it because anything special we did? I don't think so, man. I think it was just a simple conversation of, hey, you're not alone in this shit. Like, there's other people struggling with this. All you got to do is talk, and that's,
yeah.
I guess that's what, I don't know, man. I can't explain it.
Well, I didn't even know you guys had the booth set out there. I remember like we had talked, like a couple of years back, and I connected you with Dan.
Right.
Gave you his email because you'd asked about, and shame on me for not knowing that you guys were out there. But like, because of my anxiety still gets the better of me. I'm not a big fan of being out there in the middle of crowds.
Right.
So that's why I'm grateful when I have the media access, because I can go out and watch a couple songs of a band that I like in their set. And when I start feeling that thing, I get out of that group and I can go back and kind of have my safe space,
right.
Back with the media tent. But knowing that you guys are out there and that I'm not the only one that struggles with this as a veteran, you guys were like a new safe space, I think, for so many veterans, for them to come and actually let their shit go and be real and feel comfortable to get out of that mess, man. And that's amazing that you guys are there. I talked with Dan after last year's too. with a guy who is a New York City police officer who was there on 9/11. And, last year, because everything got pushed back because of COVID, they ran on the weekend of the 20th anniversary of 9/11. So I got to meet this guy and connect with him, but we were both like he's in recovery as well. And we were both talking like, man, wouldn't it be great that they had a sober tent? And I'm like, I'm going to bring that up.
Yeah.
And talked to Dan, and they had a sober tent.
So we were literally right across from the sober tent.
No shit.
Yeah.
Okay, because when the day one when I showed up and walked in, we walked right by the sober tent.
Yeah.
So, oh man, I wish I would have known that.
Yeah, we were right on the left as you were going down the hill. We were right there, right on the end.
Oh man. Yeah, I think on Sunday the people I was with wanted to go do the prison tour, and I've done that thing so many times. I'm like over it,
Yeah.
But I wanted to go with them or whatever, so I went out. We went early on Sunday before it got too crazy, and then I spent, like I said, the rest of my time kind of in VIP or back in media.
We were lucky. I was really lucky. Sasha, a mutual friend of ours.
Yeah.
I got to hang with him. I hadn't seen him in so long. It was just so good to hang with him and be able just to walk around. And we, got back there and, being able to talk like Matt Pinfield. I saw Waylon, saw Skinny, saw Jackie, got to talk to Jelly Roll, like talking to these people, and again, I kind of get like fan struck for a minute. And then I'm like, you know what? I've known these guys forever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to be that way. So it was meeting Matt Pinfield. That was just such a genuine, nice guy. You know what I mean? And recovering addict himself, alcohol and just, what he's all about and what he's doing. And for him to actually just take time and have a conversation about everything and nothing,
Yeah.
It was so cool.
Yeah. He's become a good friend of mine through, being in that recovery world and everything too. And it's funny because everything you just said, dude, we had to be standing like right next to each other at some point, not even know, because I saw Jackie and Skinny and, got to talk with Jelly Roll and, I was talking with Waylon the whole weekend. Me and Sasha were hanging out the entire weekend.
We probably walked within feet of each other and didn't even know it, honestly.
Yeah, we'll have to rectify that.
Yes, we will
next time. Or I mean, you guys still like running your stuff down in Ohio here?
Yeah. So we're actually based out of Carrollton, Ohio. That's where our home base is. That's just below Canton, like I said. I'm down in the Carolinas. I live right on the state line of North and South Carolina. So I do a lot of the golfing and fishing and motorsports down this way, NHRA and NASCAR mainly. But it's just, again, save22.vet. You can go check out the website, see what we're all about. But there's just so many opportunities and programs. They're doing a camping excursion here, end of August. And again, it's on the website, on social media. Anybody's interested in just going to camp for a few days and, walk around the West Virginia mountains and just have a good time.
Yeah, that sounds like a blast, man. I have to hit you up. And then I got some other good veteran groups down there in the Carolinas I'll have to connect you with.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
But real quick too, we, since we mentioned, Skinny and Jackie and Waylon and everybody, you want to talk about, like, as you guys were building up here in Ohio, how we kind of got connected was through mutual friends in Mushroomhead.
Yeah. So Jeff Hatrix, I've known Jeff forever. And his daughter and my daughters actually went to school together for a little while at St. James, and he was picking up his daughter and I'm picking up my daughter, and he's standing there and I look over at him and I'm like, nah, that can't be, like I knew Mia and I'm like, oh, that's Mia. I never knew her last name. It's just, hey, Mia, how you doing? She'd walk out with Lexi and Bella. And I'm like, I just look at him one day and I say, are you Jeff? And he goes, yeah, why? And I'm like, no shit. And then we just started talking, and having that connection with Jeff. And I'll be honest with you, Bill, Jeff played a huge part in my recovery. I probably owe him my life, to be honest. The alternative side of getting away from the pills, other types of healing, and Don Foose with his raw book and the juicing and the eating healthier. And, I definitely owe Jeff more than I could ever say. And just being able to hang out with him, and going to concerts and, getting that extra little access and, just it's, he's just a hell of a good guy, man.
Yeah, dude, you just hit me too, because I'm tearing up a little bit. When I first met Jeff, like I knew of him years ago because we had some mutual friends where I grew up in North Olmsted. But I was going through, this is after time in active duty, and I was running, wild, with some people. This when I was really heavy in my addiction and everything. And I had a good friend who is an artist, and we worked together. So we were like Fred and Barney, driving to work every day. I'd pick them up, and I knew I had a drinking problem. This guy kind of, he had me beat, and that was something we had in common, and our love of metal music. And so every day I'm taking this dude to work, and we're working together, and then we're going home and hanging out, and then we're drinking and blah, blah, blah. Well, anyway, this guy ends up, coming to a party I had on a Memorial Day weekend, getting like too drunk to drive home. I drive his car home with him, have my roommate follow me to give me a ride home. I walk him inside his house, and I'll say, all right, I'll see you tomorrow for work. I go home, and then early that morning, I get a call from his wife that he was killed in a car accident because he decided to go back out and just hit a telephone pole, car exploded and stuff. And that really, I was like, no, what are you talking about? I took him home,
Right.
and that just really screwed me up, man. And I was like really down and out. And back in the day, Mushroomhead had this hotline, you could call for show updates and stuff. And I just took a chance. I left a message on the hotline about what I was just going through. And Jeff was the one to call me and said, come down, meet us at our practice spot. And this was back when they were on Detroit Avenue back then. This was back before Super Buick came out. This was like really early on.
Yeah.
Working on it. And he's the one that took the time to invite me out. We ended up becoming friends and hanging out. And there was a point we had a falling out, and it was all because of me and my addiction. And I've made amends. We've reconnected. We're both in a good place, similar place spiritually now and everything. I've been to where he shared his testimony. My daughters actually like going to church where he goes to church and stuff. And it's just been, there's so much I owe that dude too, man. And those memories are flooding back because of his heart.
Yeah.
I
can't tell you the amount of times when I was in the hospital, because I was in the hospital for quite a while, that he would just show up. I mean, just show up, and just sit there and not say anything, and like I'd wake up and look over and he's sitting there. And I'm like, how long you been here? For a minute, and to show up at the house and just, watch a Cavs game or watch a Browns game and just order some pizza and just hang in those conversations, man. And the genuine concern. And again, I think that's what you surround yourself with, people like that, and your life gets better. It just does. And again, I can't thank him enough for what he did.
Yeah, he's a good guy, man. Definitely. I love that dude. Like a brother. So, as that relationship formed, I mean, they've even helped out your organization.
Yeah. Yeah. They helped us out big time. Like, we actually had a crazy idea, you know, and again, let's do a metal show. Like, we'll have all these people show up. Well, in Ohio, as you well know, even in May, the weather's not very predictable, and it turned crappy, and it was cold rain and all this nonsense. And, you know, Jeff and Skinny come out and they're like, man, we just, you know, we don't want to play outside. It's raining. We just don't want to take the chance with electronics. And we had this building at the Carroll County Fairgrounds underneath the grandstands. And we're like, the sound guy come over and he's like, well, what if we move everything inside and we do it underneath? And we're like, we can do that. And he's like, well, hell yeah, we can do that. The next thing you know, man, again, military mentality. Hey, we need some help. And I swear to you, Bill, everybody that was there grabbed something and moved it. We literally moved from one stage and set up another stage underneath within probably a half an hour. You know, and they're hooking up sound and they're hooking up the generators and they're hooking up everything to go. And they played for us underneath there. They put on a hell of a show. People still talk about that being like one of their favorite Mushroomhead shows ever, because it was so intimate, so small, so just in your face right there, that, you know, people still talk about that show that went to this day. Like, if you missed it, you probably missed one of their best shows that they've ever done, just because of what it was, what it represented. They did a promo shoot for us about SAVE22. They put a sticker on a drum cover and carried it all through the tour for us, you know. And people just, I mean, we weren't looking for a handout, you know. We didn't want a handout. We just wanted a hand up. Like, just help us put our name out there. Help us let veterans know and first responders know that, hey, man, go to these guys if you need to talk to somebody, you know. They can help. And that's what they did. And then, you know, again, Mushroomhead, even regardless of what's happened over the years and where they're at and what's going on, that band will always have a special place for me.
Yeah, for sure. And they've always been very supportive of our military members. They actually, you know, and you know, I mean, as long as I've known them, there's, you know, I have, you know, mixed feelings about where a lot of the relationships went, and it's kind of sad, because I love them all, and I'll always be grateful for everything each one of them's done for me.
Right.
And I wish in a better world everybody was still one big happy family, you know. But you know, when I got deployed, Skinny and 216 was one of their side projects at the time. They headlined a going away party for me at Peabody's. And then when I came home, they headlined my welcome home party for me. And that welcome home party for me was probably one of the best nights that I can't remember, unfortunately. And it was the last blackout drunk incident that I had. I've watched video, and it was a great show. I'm embarrassed at myself and not being able to remember, but I remember that next morning waking up, and my oldest, who was 8 years old at the time, remembering how I left, you know, where I'd be too hungover and I'd just put him in front of the TV, you know, and just like, Daddy, I don't want to see you like this anymore. And I'm like, I don't want to be like this anymore either, because I had my come to Jesus moments in my deployment, sending some brothers home in flag draped coffins and reevaluating my life. So seeds were already planted. And that's when the beginning of my recovery and sobriety started. But I'll always appreciate, you know, that they were willing to do those for me and everything. Like I said, you know, my relationship where, you know, because of, you know, where we're at today, especially, you know, my relationship with Jeff is, you Yeah, good dudes, and I wanted to make sure that they got props in your guys's, you know, foundation and journey and stuff.
Yeah. They definitely helped us. You know, they brought a lot of people together like music can do. You know, I can remember, you know, being in that hospital and, you know, and they're saying, oh, you're never going to walk again. Or if you do walk, it's going to be with a walker or canes or a wheelchair. And that wasn't an option for me. You know, like I'm pretty driven and I can remember, man, like wheeling myself in that wheelchair, just doing lap after lap after lap after lap, just the Mushroomhead playlist on my phone, just over and over and over and over, like every day, man. I can't. And then I would do like push-ups in the chair, you know, just to keep my upper body strong and keep working through all that. And, you know, those albums, you know, Super Buick and Moving Forward, 1243, all those songs, like everything, you know, just music can motivate you and take you to places that, you know, it's just one of those things, man. And I owe them, all of them, a lot.
Yeah, amen. And then I mean, they've even like participated in the hikes and stuff too, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. So Jeff has come down for a few of the hikes. Obviously with Stacy's, you know, issues and things like that they haven't been down for a hot minute, but his mom came, his sister, Jeff. I mean, they brought a group with them. So it was cool. And then AOW, they come down and brought a group, you know, and it was just, it's cool. We had Made to Rise. They played at one of our events. Rio Hayat and them, they played, and we saw them in Incarceration. They come up to the booth and, you know, hung out for a while and you know, just good people, man. And that's what I say. You just surround yourself with good people and your life gets better. It just does.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's awesome. So, like, where's things at then today? I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but where are things at today with SAVE22? And like, has it? I mean, are you shocked at where it started and where it is today? And
I don't even have the words to put into how shocked I am. Honestly, you know, when we do these events and you know, who would have ever thought that we would be taking vets to NASCAR race and seeing our logo on the side of a car or on the hood of a car and getting vets into the track and all access and meeting drivers and having conversations and, you know, even watching some of them push the car, carry tires. We work with a F4 series of open wheel IndyCar, their Indy Lights, the junior series. And, you know, we have vets that they actually hire to work on the cars that are mechanically inclined. Like, to see those transformations and to see where these programs go, it's crazy. You know, like Dan Stansberry, one of the Rock 107 DJ, you know, for him to take vets golfing on his own time for us. I mean, it's just, how do you put into words what that means, man? And then, you know, to have family members come up to you and say, hey, thanks for giving me my husband back, or thanks for giving me my daddy back. You know, you can't put that into words, man. You can't. And I don't know what the secret sauce is. I wish I did, because I'd bottle it and give it away to everybody. I really would. I don't know if it's just because we're raw, we're real. It's just experiences. We're not counselors. We're not tied to anything. You know what I mean? It's just like, hey, this is what happened. This is what works for us. This is who you can talk to. This is who we have in our network. What do you need?
Yeah, it's a great community. Like I said, you know, my journey started with, actually it started here locally with Wags for Warriors.
Yeah.
And then they got me hip to, you know, the Higher Ground, which then opened up, you know, to Lone Survivor, which opened up to, you know, so many other organizations out there. And like our connection with Jeff got me, you know, connected with you guys. And
yeah,
I know so many guys that have like done so many vets that they get to do the organization hopping, you know, the
Yeah.
sign up for this retreat and go to that retreat and this retreat. I've been a single dad since pretty much I came home from my deployment in 2009. And yeah, that's been my mission, you know, raise my girls. And now my youngest just graduated. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to start hopping on some of these, you know, and getting out and working more on me and connecting with other vets. So you may see me at one of your events here soon.
I'm going to throw something out to you when we get offline here coming up in end of October. So I'm going to throw that out to you.
Awesome,
get
man.
offline. Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah, man. That'd be great. Cause I think it's, you know, my girls are grown and I can get out and start doing some of the stuff that, you know, to keep my building going on. And it's it's so great to network and learn more, get more veteran stories out there through my platform and stuff like that. So
at the Texas race, we went to the Texas Motor Speedway for a NASCAR race, and it's just weird how things happen and, you know, connections are made. And so we had an Army gentleman come, and he was actually supposed to go to an inpatient therapy for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So he asked his therapist, hey, can I use this as immersion therapy, the NASCAR race, for social disorder, anxiety, and all that? And she said, well, what are you doing? And she checked us out and got a phone call and didn't recognize the number, pick it up. And she's like, hey, I'm so-and-so. I work with this gentleman, and, you know, I just want to make sure that he's coming and he's going to be there. And I said, yeah, he's coming. We got a ticket. He's there. And she asked what we did, and I told her, and she actually said, yeah, we'll count this as immersion therapy for the weekend. So he actually got to use his VA time that he would be going somewhere else to do something at the NASCAR event.
nice.
You know, so that felt kind of good. Like, all right, you know, that
like
one
legitimizing everything, you know?
yeah, kind of like validated that
Yeah.
we're doing something right. Like, it felt good, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, man. Well, we've been on over an hour. But hey, I know that's what happens when a couple of veterans get together and start
Yes, sir.
sharing stories and everything.
Yeah.
And but I wanted to ask you some of the questions that I normally ask the guests I have on.
Yeah.
And you know, as you mentioned, we're both big music fans. You know, I've been involved in the local music scene for years, and this originally, you know, I do a lot of interviews with musicians and stuff on here, so a lot of these questions are kind of related to that subject. But who are your top 3 musical artists?
Obviously, I'm going to say Mushroomhead just because my personal connection, you know. But Korn, I've always liked Korn. I've just always liked their music ever since way back when. And I listen to everything. That's my problem, you know? So, you know, I like old ICP. I like Tech Nine. I like Jelly Roll by himself. You know, I like Lamb of God. I like Falling in Reverse. I don't know where to go with it, you know, but my top 2 for sure would be Mushroomhead and Korn, and Mushroomhead just because of the personal connection. But Korn is probably one of my all-time favorites, just to put the windows down and turn it up.
Yeah, for sure. They're one of mine as well. And then, you know, this is probably tough to narrow down, but you know, we all have like a playlist that gets us through stuff. But is there a particular song that you feel has inspired you in life that's your go-to every time you need that pick me up to get over a hump?
Yeah, there's a couple. Save Us is one of my, for Mushroomhead, is probably one of my all-time favorites, because, you know, it just talks about humanity, the change, you know, what can we do for each other, you know, and saving us from ourselves. Like, why are we so damn hard on ourselves? You know, that's what I take out of it. You know, why is there that, again, stigma? I'm okay. I am. And it's okay that I'm not okay. It's okay I have a TB. It's okay I have PTSD. It's okay. I just don't have to live in that damn moment every day. Can I slip and fall and have a bad day? Sure. 2? Sure. I mean, and that's okay. And that's probably one of my favorite songs, honestly. Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite, man, to be
Yeah,
honest.
that's definitely a good one, man, for sure. And then what's one of the last books that you've read?
So one of the last books I read, and it was from the Motorcycle Relief Project. Her last name is Addis, and she wrote a book about struggles that she saw with her husband, and kind of, he was a Vietnam veteran, PTSD. Don has passed away since, but it's not a very big book. I can't remember the name of it. Obviously, you would ask me that, but that's the last one I read. And she handed me that book while I was at an event and told me that I needed to read it. So, yeah, that's the last one I read.
Nice. And then what class do you feel should be mandatory before graduating high school today?
Oh, finance, and how to run a checkbook and and balance a checkbook and know what and know how monies work. You know, you're just not sticking a damn debit card in and the money's there. I think that should be one for sure, without a
Yeah,
doubt.
and that's definitely a popular one whenever I ask that question.
Yeah.
And it's like especially today, man, because we got to know, how bad Congress is screwing us by
Right.
passing all these quote unquote bills,
Yeah.
stuff in their pockets and screwing
Right.
us. Money just doesn't work like that.
I guess maybe that would be
Protect us
like a
from
home ec course also, like throw all that together so you know how to do some basic cooking and checkbook balancing and bill paying. Like if you could throw all that together in one like little class, that would be perfect.
Yeah, because I mean, there might be a YouTube tutorial for just about everything, but when the
Yeah.
grid goes down, you're kind of shit out of luck.
Right. Yeah.
So you better start learning this stuff now in school and hands on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then 3 people who've inspired you or you can credit for making you the person you are today.
Uh, Definitely my mom. Um, yeah, for sure. For sure, my mom, um, my grandpa, um, actually my step grandpa, and probably my stepdad. Um,
Nice.
I don't mention my dad simply because he passed when I was 20, alcoholic, and just didn't have a very close relationship with him. And I guess I should credit him somewhat, but it's hard because I don't want to be like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I
mean,
guess I
maybe he
do.
taught you a lesson of who not to be like.
Right. Yeah. But my stepdad and definitely my step grandpa, he was in World War II, and they built the first runways over in the islands. And he told me some stories when I came back, and he really never talked much about it. Then finding out after he passed that he had Bronze Stars, and I'm like, hearing the stories later, and just the memories that we have of working in the garden together. And he gave me my first job. He was a carpenter, and I worked with him, and just the incredible amount of patience that he had for me. It was because at 14, 15, it's turning over a power saw to somebody to go cut something. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just those are memories that I'll always remember. Working in the shop with him late at night. He was always working, always, and that's kind of one of the things that I owe to him, is probably him and my stepdad, is my work ethic. And my mom just, coming to this country, not being able to speak a whole lot of English, starting her own business and owning her own stores for over 40 years, chasing that American dream and getting it, honestly, all on her own, with no help. And then she suffers from idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, which is the hardening of the lungs. She's in her 6th year, and they told her that she had 3 to 5. So, she's definitely one of my heroes.
Nice. And then Favorite toy as a child?
Oh man. Ooh, probably the Evil Knievel, man. That dude was bad, you know?
Yeah.
You could do anything with him. So yeah, I Evil Knievel and probably the G.I. Joe that fit in the submarine. And
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I remember that one
anything
too.
Star Wars, man. Anything Star Wars, but like vividly the the, the Evil Knievel, man. Yeah, for sure.
So that's like the most popular one that I get when I ask that question is the Evil Knievel, the wind up and he shot out, you know.
Oh yeah. You
That
used to
one.
crank that thing as fast as you could.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In fact, that was Don Foos's as well.
Cool.
And then any message that you have for our military brothers and sisters serving overseas?
Yeah, I deepest respect, and I mean that from my heart. I really do. Um, Away from family, God knows where you're at. You know, I've got friends right now that are in Syria that you get a text every now and then if you're lucky. Um, you know, they're protecting our freedoms, whether we see it or not, whether we understand it or not. You've served overseas, you know what's over there. You've seen what shitholes can be.
Yeah.
Um, and I wish more people truly understand that, would grasp it and hold on to it. And you know it. And again, if you're struggling or feeling some sort of way, man, there's so many organizations, not only SAVE22, but just so many organizations, man. Reach out, like talk to somebody. I can guarantee you there's somebody going to pick up somewhere if you need something. Don't feel like you're doing the shit on your own, or if you're getting in your head, or you just need a vent, man, and can't go to somebody. Reach out, active duty or not. I mean, we're here. And thank you.
Awesome. Man, Albert, it's good to get to know you finally.
Yeah.
And I definitely look forward to connecting in person
Yeah.
at some point. But thank you for your time. And I wanted to, usually when I have a veteran on too, I like to get, ask you one last favor to do a promo ID for the show. But with veterans, I have them usually introduce themselves at the last rank they held before retirement and stuff like before
Right.
getting out or whatever.
Right.
So, and then just introduce yourself. And you're listening to today's Boondoggle. Can you do that for me?
So you're listening to today's Boondoggle. I'm Albert Woodin, United States Air Force Security Forces. Got out as a sergeant.
Awesome. All right, Albert, man. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, brother. I appreciate you, and we'll connect early here as soon as we get offline here. I want to make sure you get that information.
Yeah, for sure, man. All right, man.
All right, brother.